Hi, this is a quick video again. They're all quick videos actually I do, but anyway, this video is quite an important video because this video is all about the Z80 emulator, which you've heard about quite a bit already, and I've shown you a prototype that I had running all this time doing various things like loading games and whatever else. Well, finally I can say that we now have Z80 emulators available and they're on a PCB. This is it here. This little board here. Now I've actually plugged it directly into the front of the tester, so it's in front, whereas normally it would go down by the board end, but I've done it this way so you can actually see it a bit more. If I zoom in, you can see a little bit more in detail of it. You can see it's got a couple of lights flashing. There's a red light flashing which indicates the weight, or the watch. It's the watchdog, sorry, correction, it's the watchdog. The yellow light, or orange, or what you want to call it, is actually the tri-state light, which means the processor is sitting idle, and the blue one is the wait signal, which indicates when it's accessing VRAM or the wait is being used. Up the top here you have a battery which I need to pop in, which is a little 3-volt battery, and that allows the RAM chip to store its data when you disconnect it or turn the power off, etc. So it keeps the data. You've got a selection of dip switches. There are 6 dip switches, which the first 4 will allow you to select the RAM size that you want to shadow the ROM with. So it could be 2, 4, 8, 16 or a full 32K. You've also got another 2 little switches at the top, which one of them is the RAM enable. So if you have it on, it uses the RAM. If you have it off, it uses the ROMs on the board. The other dip switch is a write protect. So when it's on, it allows you to read and write to the RAM of the emulator. When you have it off, the emulator RAM is basically frozen and you can't write to it. So it sort of turns it into a ROM effectively and protects the data. There is a Z80 that sits in there. This is a Z80A. You can put a Z80B in. And the way it's connected up, as you can see, it's quite a small compact board. Probably about 100mm or so looking at it. Oops, sorry, the camera moved a bit there. I'll zoom out a bit more because my zoom's a bit... I've got an old cable there hooked up. This one normally would go down the other end. So what you do is you have a new adapter board there which plugs in. This is a universal adapter board, so it can be used for a lot of things. Okay, but it's obviously used on the emulators as well by putting a couple of wire links across here, which when you decide to go for one of these, this will be made obvious as to what you do. It's quite easy to do actually. So this plugs into the front of your tester. It can work with a Mark 1, a Mark 2, a Mark 2.1, basically any of the testers it will work with. You plug it in there, you plug in your cable to there, and then the cable comes out of there and you can see it goes down to your board, which as you can see there is plugged into the Z80 socket. Now there is a little adapter board that plugs in, and this cable plugs into the top of it, and you just basically plug it in like a processor. And that's my trusty old Galaxian board, which I use as a test. You can see there it is there. That's my Galaxian working test board. I've done a 2K upgrade, which I said this once before. So, you know, instead of having 1K, it's now got 2. You can see it's got no programs. No program ROMs at all in it. So it's just basically a board. And on the screen, with all the mess around it, you can see it's static. So I've set it up for the Z80. And I'm just going to type, I've already preloaded in the Galaxian code. I'm just going to type run, and you can see there that the code will run and you'll get Galaxian coming up. And it does exactly what my prototype does. It does all the usual things. You can start, stop, pause the game, slow it down, you can step the code, you can disassemble the code, you can alter the code if you want, you can do all sorts of things. You can download the code and make bins. It works as a Z80 adapter as well, so when you have the emulator in a tri-state mode, what will happen is you can then access the board for debug purposes, so you can access the memory, do RAM tests, memory maps, all the usual stuff. So it works as a Z80 adapter would, with all the usual features, but it also has the processor on board as well, so you can actually use it to run the game and do debug and all that with the software. When it's running, you can see both those lights will go out, which means the watchdog is not watchdogging anymore, which is quite good. The tri-state goes out to indicate the processor is now active, and the blue little LED is the wait one, which will flash when it's accessing the video RAM. On a Mark II tester you also have the wait light up there as well, so that will come on and off with the video RAM as well. So it's just mirrored on the board. And this is actually set up for 16K of RAM to shadow the ROMs. Because there's no ROMs, I've replaced all the ROM with the RAM in 16K, and I've downloaded the code in, so it's currently stored in the RAM chip and the game's running off the emulator effectively. Now obviously if I disconnect the power etc, then the code will be corrupted, so I'll need to put a little battery in there, which is simply a lithium 3-volt battery, and that will store it. You can see it's quite stable, you know, it doesn't seem to be affected by anything, and it's running away quite happily. So these boards are now available. I've just finished testing it, made sure that it's doing everything it should be doing, and if you want to get one of these, get in touch. You can obviously get them, no problem at all now. They are working, and when you buy one you'll buy the whole thing, so you'll get the board, you'll get the cables, you get the new adapter board. It's a lot of package effectively with all this. So you buy the package, you plug it into your tester, and away you go. Alright, so that's another video, and hopefully a good one. Thanks again, bye.